Welcome back to Wake Up Canada News. I'm Brad Wilder. It starts out like any other day. You get up, take a shower, do your hair, get ready for the day. You have a quick bite to eat, and out the door you go. But as you step out the door, bam, it hits you. Today is the day you'll have to fight in court for your life. No, this isn't a murder trial. It's not vehicular manslaughter or a violent crime where there's a victim. It's the Alberta provincial healthcare system that you're defending yourself against, and you're the victim. And it's politicized. A Canadian woman has been denied life-saving surgery due to her refusal to take the experimental COVID-19 vaccine. In 2019, Sheila Annette Lewis began a battle with idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, a condition which is extremely deadly and can require organ transplants for survival, as it is in Lewis's case. Lewis requires a life-saving lung transplant and has been waiting since September of 2021 for the life-saving procedure. However, an Alberta judge recently ruled that Canada's requirement that surgery patients must be vaccinated against COVID-19 stands, and Lewis has been denied the organ transplant. A partial statement from the Justice Centre Constitutional Freedoms, who represented Lewis in court, reads as follows. An Alberta Court of Queen's Bench judge has ruled that Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms does not apply to the decision of an organ transplant team, which requires candidates to be vaccinated for COVID prior to their organ transplant. The Justice Centre represents Sheila Annette Lewis, who has idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, a terminal condition. She brought an application into the Alberta Court of Queen's Bench asking that the court uphold her charter-protected right to conscience, bodily autonomy, and freedom to choose without coercion. A later point in the statement discusses Lewis's filings of medical expert reports with several doctors, all of whom supported her arguments. In support of her charter arguments, Ms. Lewis filed expert reports from two immunologists, Dr. Bonnie Millard and Dr. Brian Brittle, who is also a vaccinologist. The expert reports and oral testimony illustrated that the COVID vaccines are still in clinical trials and will be in clinical trials until late 2022 at the earliest, and that peer-reviewed research and raw scientific data led them to seriously question the safety and the efficiency of COVID vaccines as compared to traditional vaccines that have been around for decades. She also filed an expert report from a surgeon with a master's in healthcare ethics, Dr. Benjamin Turner, who testified that the benefit of vaccination for Ms. Lewis was so small that it was unethical to require her to get the COVID-19 vaccine prior to her transplant. Justice Belzil declined to address the scientific and ethical arguments advanced because he determined that the charter did not apply to the treating physicians. Canadian independent news outlet Rebel News interviewed Lewis, stating that for her own reasons, Ms. Lewis has not and will not take this experimental jab. John Carpe, president of the Justice Centre for Constitutional Freedoms representing Lewis, called the ruling a cruel judgment that upholds the medical coercion which Ms. Lewis has already suffered for more than a year. This ruling is founded on Justice Belzil's unwillingness to actually consider, analyze, and weigh the scientific evidence which Ms. Lewis and AHS placed before the court. For the court to pretend that the denial of life-saving surgery to Ms. Lewis is merely the individual judgment of individual physicians treating an individual patient is to ignore the reality of a government policy that applies to all patients, Carpe said. Politicized healthcare, meet COVID madness, and illegal mandates that violate the Canadian Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights guarantees Canadians A, the right of the individual to life, liberty, security of the person, and B, the right of the individual to equality before the law and protection of the law. These last 2 years have seen fundamental changes to the Canadian healthcare system that we all rely upon, policies that do not benefit Canadians, respects our laws and our values. Healthcare has become a political weapon wielded by captured federal politicians as World Economic Forum agents to promote the COVID narrative. The College of Physicians and Surgeons of Alberta, CPSA, is Alberta's physician regulator and responsible for overseeing the practice of medicine in Alberta. From the CPSA website itself, the Canadian Medical Association Code of Ethics and Professionalism articulates the ethical and professional comments and responsibilities of the medical profession. It is founded on and affirms the core values and commitments of the profession and outlines responsibilities related to contemporary medical practice. The standard of practice of the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Alberta, hereafter referred to as the CPSA, are the minimum standards of professional behavior and ethical comment expected of all physicians registered in Alberta. Standards are enforceable under the Health Professions Act and will be referenced in complaints, resolution, and discipline hearings. Regulated members must be aware of and adhere to the Code of Ethics and Professionalism or the standards of practice. Failure to comply with the Code of Ethics and Professionalism or the standards of practice is considered unprofessional conduct under the Health Professions Act. CMA Code of Ethics and Professionalism, the commitment to respect for the persons, always treat the patient with dignity, respect, the equal and intrinsic worth of all persons. Always respect the autonomy of the patient. Never exploit the patient for personal advantage. Never participate in or support practices that violate basic human rights. Commitment to justice. Promote the well-being of communities and populations by striving to improve health outcomes and access to care, reduce health inequities and disparities in care, and promote social accountability. COVID vaccination policies are in direct violation to medical ethics standards and human rights. This is medical malfeasance and coercion, which is illegal and unethical to say the least. To deny life-saving treatment, which will result in death, is that murder? This is a life and death situation for one Canadian who shouldn't be going through any of this. Makes you wonder what's next for healthcare in Canada. If they can turn her down, how about a patient with HIV? Or maybe your own family member that needs life-saving cancer treatment. Get the picture? Canada's healthcare is in a world of trouble at the moment, overrun by double agents of the WEF, including Justin Trudeau, Chrystia Freeland, and Dr. Tam, just to name a few. Now's the time, and this is a very scary precedent that is now being set. We need to act now and take back control of our healthcare and Canada and not allow this to ever happen again. To support Sheila, please see the description, and I'll also leave in the comments the link. Remember, you're the voice. Now's the time to make it count. I'm Brad Wilder. Thanks for watching. This is Wake Up Canada News.